right, people, time to get fired up. We're going to town today.
Yes, we're going to town. It's February 22nd, year 2024. Welcome aboard, everybody. Listen to the Crushing Iron podcast. This is episode 751.
Yep. And I got to get my ass in gear, man. Maybe this podcast will do it.
Why do you
set
got
off?
something on the horizon?
I might be doing the horribly hilly
100?
Yep.
And then in June?
Yeah. 10,000 feet again. 120 miles.
Heck, who's talked you into that?
Emily.
Figures.
But I'm good with it. It's on my MO, man. Bike and swim.
That's true. This is true. How are you going to prepare for those hills? You don't have, it's not very rider friendly where you're at. You going to be hopping on the trainer?
I'm going to ride a lot on the trainer, big gear, but as soon as it breaks, I'm going to probably have to head down for some loopage.
Oh, yeah. Loop-de-doos.
Little Madison loop here and there. I don't know. I like hills, so not that I don't need to prepare for them, but I'm not like psychologically beat out before I get there. So, so like a lot of people, you can just go in and swim for like 3,000 without swimming for months.
Right.
I'm a little bit like that on the bike. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm going to go in unprepared, but
I was going to say, it doesn't sound like one of those days you can be unprepared for.
No, you just manage it.
Guess we're going to find out.
Sort of like the marathon I just did, it's like that.
That's true.
You just figure out a way, man.
I mean, to me, it's not about the legs. It's not about the arms. It's not about the lungs.
It's about the saddle.
It's about the saddle. That's 100% about the saddle, man. How long can you handle being on a bike? And that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, because if I pick the long route on that, it's going to be an 8-hour ordeal. It's 120 miles with 10,000 feet, so yeah, it's going to take a bit.
Let me know how that goes for you, man. I'll be excited to hear about it.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I mean, we have the option of choosing the distance that morning, I think.
So you're just going to let it, you know what? Keep yourself at the ready.
Yeah.
That's the thing to do. Then you need to drop down. You need to drop down. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I'll be mentally going, I'll do the 50K.
Yeah.
And then that morning, me though. I'll be like,
I know.
I'm here. I'm gonna do it.
If you're here, you might as well do the whole thing. Knock it off, check it off. It sounds like a good time. I'll be interested. We've had quite a few athletes do that before, so I'll be interested to see how you feel about it. I mean, I've had quite a few athletes do it before, and they
all say,
yeah, it's great reviews, fantastic reviews, great fitness bump. Good, it is a pretty good time from what I hear. But yeah, I'll be excited to hear how that goes for you in your training in the lead up.
Yeah, I mean, if anything can kind of make Madison seem not so bad, I would imagine it's something like that.
That's probably it. Yeah, I would say that's the benefit, right? It's like kind of how we always used to hit the lab, and it was so windy. We'd go other places, and we would barely feel the wind. People would be complaining about 20-mile-an-hour headwinds, and we're like, what? That didn't feel a single breeze today.
Practice harder than you play.
Exactly. So I'm skipping the intro today, and we're going right into questions. We have a ton of questions today. Popped into our closed Facebook group under my pseudonym Nick. And ask the community to chime in and pop some questions. So we're going to go through those today. First one from Kathleen. Did you let Nick in the Crushing Iron group? Yes, I did. I went over this in the podcast where I talked about Nick. I was sitting there in the chair at Run Camp and hovering over the delete. And matter of fact, I'd like for that gentleman to show himself. I would love for him to come out and post in the Facebook group, hey, listen, it was me. I made the mistake. I'll own it, and you'll be the new champion of the Facebook group. Yes, of course I let him in. Next question.
There's a t-shirt brewing with Nick. I don't know what it is yet.
There's something in there. From Josh, if you could choose any other name than the one you have, what would it be and why?
What?
No. Sorry, dude. Josh, do better. That's not a good question.
It's already been answered clearly for him. For you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you got about as a general boring name as I do with Robbie. You got Josh. I mean, it's like, hey, maybe get crazy. Maybe I'll go with a Tim or a Jeff. Or if I'm feeling spicy, maybe a Rick. No, I mean, I got like a traditional boring white dude name. So I got. Like, you hear Robbie, and you're like, let me guess, 6 foot, white dude in his 40s. You're like, yeah, sounds like a Robbie. It's kind of like, hey, your name's Mildred. Let me guess, 76, nursing home.
Yeah,
Done.
or young. I think it's coming back.
Well, that's not a young name, Mildred.
I think it's coming back. That was my grandma's name.
I mean, that was my great grandma's name too. I mean, when is it coming back?
I've seen some younger kids have that name.
When?
Well, if not yet, soon. After this podcast.
How many young kids do you know?
It's a good question. Not many. I mean,
no, many.
Mildred. It's a beautiful name.
My grandmother's grandmother, or excuse me, yeah, my grandma was named Luther.
Whoa.
Yeah, how savage is that? Hey, beautiful young baby, we're gonna call you Luther.
Wow.
Glad that trend stopped. Yeah. Josh, I got nothing for you. Moving on, back to some more legit questions from Kurt. If you're planning a few days off for a conference or family trip, is there a window to perhaps get out of zone 2 and burn your biscuits, knowing the schedule has downtime? We get this. You and I get this question a ton as coaches with athletes that travel a lot via either from conferences, family, travel up for work. For whatever reason, athletes, no matter how many times they've done it, always assume that traveling and vacation means stress-free, freedom, and good life. In my experience as an athlete and as a person who's taking, to me, it's more stress. It's way more stress. You're not sleeping in your own bed. You got to travel either by car or airplane, which is stressful, right? You're not eating the same foods you'd always eat, which usually means you're going to be under-recovered or feeling with crap, right? And you've got other stressors, right? And you're being out of your routine. And so to me, that's actually the perfect time to actually do more zone 2 work, because you need to be able to handle the outside stress of conference family trips are never stress-free. That's why there's the phrase, I need a vacation from my vacation. I mean, that because that's how stressed people usually feel coming back again with travel, whether it's car or plane, food choices, depending on what kind of family trip it is. If you're laying on the beach all day, that's one thing. But if you got you're going to Disneyland, that's a workout in and of itself, or you got other obligations, kids around, again, you're out of routine. You're probably sitting in a hotel room. You're scrunched in, 500 square feet of space versus, the normal amount of space you're usually. So I think it's actually a perfect time to just do zone 2, zone 1 work. I would not recommend at all burning your biscuits, because in my opinion, you're going to come back from that way more stressed than you would be.
Leading into I guess it depends on how you define burning your biscuits too. You want to sell yourself? I don't know. I always talk to people too about when they go on vacation, depending on when it is, if they can, if they're coming up on a race or something, I want them to get a little bit of something else in, but do like a easy stuff, like you're saying, 30-minute run every day, every other day. It'll help enhance the vacation, I think. But yeah, it can be stressful. I don't know. Burning biscuits.
I just don't know why
you talk about doing that twice a year at 2 races or whatever. Maybe push it a little bit, but
Yeah, good. To me, Kurt, it sounds like you've probably got a whole oven tray of burnt biscuits. Let's tone it down a little bit. If you're jonesing to burn your biscuits, then you've probably already got about 6 or 7 burnt. You don't know what a good tasting biscuit tastes like.
Well, we used to do, so just quickly, the the biscuit thing, we used to do that a little bit at the trace. I did anyway. A little bit more than I probably should have, and I remember being tired and beat down all the time. So I don't know. It depends on your age, I think, too.
And you did say, and it definitely depends, right? My favorite answer for everyone is what your definition of burnt biscuits is.
Yeah.
Is it a high intensity, hour-long session where you can get up the next day and do something? That's not burn your biscuits. To me, it's where your next 2 to 3 days are impacted significantly. Mm-hmm. To me, that's the key. So yeah, I would tread lightly there. Molly, this is more of a comment, not a question, so I'm going to skip that. We all know none of this is like triathlon related. We all know Nick's opinion on Thanksgiving versus Christmas, but which holiday is better, Valentine's or Easter? Easter.
Okay.
And frankly, I don't see frankly, neither one of them are high on my list. Easter is good. If you got, Valentine's, it's like, I don't see the point.
Well, I mean,
It's
they've all been
mark.
hijacked. Every holiday's been
total
hijacked. But they don't even. I mean,
total hijack job. And I used to give my mom a hard time with this too. And she's listening. She'll be like, "Oh yeah, you did." It's like, we went to church a ton growing up. And then when we kind of weaned off the church thing, like, I'm going to college. This is, admittedly, it's still kind of in a bad spot. It's like, hey, you come into Easter Sunday. I'm like, why am I going to come once a year?
Yeah.
Everyone knows I haven't been a year, but you show up to the Easter service and your pastels and your Easter outfit and you take your picture. And I'm like, I can't do that. That's just not. I mean, I'm sure people can. Nothing wrong with that. Do your thing. Do your Easter celebration and all that kind of stuff. If that's your jam, rock it out. But to me, it's Easter. It's like, I mean, the superior candy is Easter, because there's no great candy like Reese's makes, and at least that I know of, like a Valentine's Reese's. Like, hey, why don't you buy this, heart-shaped tin with chocolate in it? That's mediocre at best, chocolate in these little squares with, ruffled paper. Like, no one needs that crap. Give me the Reese's egg, or give me the Cadbury egg. Those two are two of the best ever candies, because you take away the ridges. There's nothing great. It's just smooth, delicate, and perfect. I mean, I really don't know anything better than a holiday with that. And then you got Halloween, which went over that. It's just about trading dollars and candy between houses, and no one even goes for the good stuff. But yeah, Easter is the superior holiday. If that's considered a holiday or a special day or whatever they call it. But yeah, I mean, I think Easter is superior in that aspect.
All right. Yeah, I just can't go into this one.
Yeah, I figured you're gonna stay far away.
Yeah,
stay far away. I went in and did it for you. Next question from a soon-to-be camper at your house for the wellness camp, Glenn Becky. Does Robbie get nervous before a race, i.e., Ironman Texas coming up? Any butterflies? I don't have even a cocoon for a butterfly to come out of at the moment. I'm still working on.
You're still numb.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still working on having enough fitness to feel good enough to be nervous about it. I mean, there's a difference in. I will say the last 2 days I've started to feel cautiously
nervous.
Optimistic.
Oh, optimistic. Cautiously nervous.
No, caution. No, I'm not nervous. I feel cautious. I mean, because I knocked out 2,700 in the pool this morning. Felt really good. Wanted to get 3K in, but the aqua jog ladies came in and got me again. And I'm telling you right now, I've had a few text messages since our Tuesday podcast talking about the aqua jog ladies. There is no scarier gang than seeing the aqua jog ladies and aqua aerobics like walk onto the pool deck. I mean, they stroll out. And it's like they got a ghetto blaster with music playing on the back, like the We Rollin' music. They walk on the pool deck. They got their canes. They got their walkers with like extra tennis ball rubber on the bottom. They've all got their blue blockers on, so you can't tell if they're staring at you or not. And they got the music playing. And you know what they do? They show up fucking 40 minutes early just to sit there and stare at you like, why are you still in that lane? We start class in 20 minutes. And then they start slowly. This today. They started slowly migrating into lanes where it was two per lane. You got one on each side. And so as soon as one would open up, they're like, I'm gonna go in there and get a little pre-jam on my warm-up going on. This one lady looked like she was doing Taibo with like 95-pound water weights with the poor guy in the lane next to her. And they just roll up and they just do what they want to. And I'm convinced everyone is scared of them. Everyone. Yeah. The lifeguards bow to them. They're like, you want the pool at 98? Crank it up, baby. Mildred wants the pool at 98. You do that, and it's like it's 100% how it is. It's kind of scary. But it's true. So if you want to get shit done, don't hire, the mob, hire the aqua job lady gang, because they will own whatever it is you want to own.
Yeah. If you dig deep enough into the aqua joggers, there's probably a pool donator that gave all the money for the pool.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean? It's like bordered. It's deep state shit back in there.
It is deep. I'm guaranteed they've got guarantee the black web or the dark web was started by old lady aqua joggers.
Oh yeah, they just
for sure
quietly control everything that happens.
That's right. Quietly do it all. Anyway, so will I get nervous? Sure. I'll totally get nervous. Getting back to
Sounds like you're already nervous. The ladies got you a little nervous.
I was looking, I was like, man, can I get 3,000? No, I was like, I don't want to get on their bad side. Yeah, I'm sure I'll get nervous. I mean, I generally, again, I had a nice little midweek long run yesterday morning. Had a good swim today. My last few sessions have felt pretty good. I mean, again, I'm a long way out. But I think I'm in that space where my goal is probably, because listen, the truth of the matter is I don't have any idea when I'm ever going to have the time or the desire to train for a full again.
Are you ballparking me right now?
And I'm not ballparking you, but I'm going to give a little extra context. Is where I'm sitting now is I'm going all in between now and race day. I'm probably going to do a short taper because I won't deserve anything longer than like 5 or 6 days. But I think I can get in good enough shape to where I can at least swim and bike similar to what my PR times were in my Ironman PR back before I got sober at Ironman Arizona. And then I think my plan, unless it's like 100 degrees, because you never know what's going to be in Texas, this could all 100% change based on the weather and the wind. But I think if I get off and I'm in at least sniff distance in time of doing a marathon where I can get this PR and just call it a day and retire from Ironman racing, I'm fucking going for it. And it might end in fireworks, or it might end with me walking the last 10 miles. But I'm not gonna. What I'm not gonna do is I'd rather finish within 20 minutes behind it because I went for broke to beat it, than come in 3 minutes after it because I played it too conservative. So that's my current thinking: is swim and bike as much as I possibly can, put myself in a decent position to get off and see what I can do in the run. If I can hold it, I can hold it. If not, I'll blow up and have a good day. But I'm not going there to play it super, super safe at the very end. I'm either going to try and cross this off my list of sober PRs and get rid of that one. But we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, I'll be nervous the morning of. Oh, for sure. I always get nervous. I mean, I think it'd be weird if you didn't.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's energy coming up. It's ready to burst out of you. So you got to have it somewhere. Ready
to burst out of you. Yeah. But being familiar with the course is helpful. So, but yeah, I'll be, I don't know, nervous, anxious, excited.
Well, hopefully it's excited.
But I'll be excited, but it's been a while, as you know, for anything that distance for an Ironman. So yeah, I'll be nervous about that. Next question. Hey, Nick, what in y'all's opinion are the important tips for race day etiquette that aren't included in an athlete guide or under USAT rules? I mean, don't be a dick and don't be a diva. That's my general rule of thumb for life, and especially within triathlon. My big one is, I know this is your favorite, especially in the Greenway, is saying on your left. What? Huge pet peeve of mine with people on the bike when they're racing don't come by you and they say on the left, because half of them are like 2 inches from you. They just come flying by. It's not that hard to say on your left. I just feel like it's general courtesy. And then don't be that person that goes like, you're in a big group and then, on the bike and you go up and you take every bottle that's out and you knock over 4 and only take 1. Same on the run, right? You come in, you cut in front of somebody and they got their line for this aid station. Volunteers got their cup out and you ram right through and you're like, boom. And of course, same thing is if for every 6 cups you grab at a running aid station, you probably take in 4 tablespoons of water, Coke, or Gatorade. But you spill most of it. That's really my only 2. The swim stuff doesn't bother me. I mean, a lot of people. I was actually thinking about that today in the pool. How most athletes like complain ad nauseum about having to share a lane or circle swim, but yet when we go race day, there's going to be 2,000 other people, swapping paint with you. So in the swim, I feel like it's every man for themselves. And if someone's tickling your feet, give a good little 4-beat kick. That usually gets them off. That's kind of my thing. If someone's tickling my feet, I either do one of 2 things, which is kind of similar to what I do in the interstate. Either give a hard 4-beat kick, or I slam on the brakes and give them a little breaststroke. That usually gets somebody off your feet. But I mean, other than that, I mean, there shouldn't be that many, rules you need to pay attention to, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, like I think maybe one of mine, it's just because of how I am, but the morning of the race when you're in the swim line, limit the talking a little bit. Like, because invariably I'll get next to somebody who's just ready.
Yeah, but give off this "I want to talk" vibe.
Who I do?
Yes.
Yeah, I know. That's partially. See, it's my fault usually, but
it's totally your fault.
Yeah, it's up to maybe like give me like when 10 minutes for me to get in the water, I need that time right there to just kind of like center and be in my own world. I can't be talking about, I don't know. It's a weird thing because I know a lot of people, and that happens on the run too. I gotta be honest. Like, hey, what do you, how's it going? It's like, I don't know, man. I just need I'm that guy that needs to focus out there, but I know a lot of people say it's easier when you got somebody to kind of run with, and I totally I might have to acquiesce to that and figure that one out, because sometimes I think it does help, but it's a tough one for me. Stopping in the bike aid station, stopping right there.
Oh, man, no kidding.
That one's tricky.
The hell over. I know some people just stop like right in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. On your left, I don't need it necessarily, but I get it. It depends where if you're going down a hill, I guess. I mean, I didn't really get past last year much, except when I had the flat. They all passed on the right, though, and nobody said hi to me or anything. Nobody. Yeah, now you don't talk.
You know what? Speaking of, that's another huge pet peeve of mine.
What?
When you roll by somebody, you should, and they're on the side of the road, you should always yell out, "You need anything?"
Oh, yeah.
You need anything? You good?
Yeah, but a few of them said that,
whether
but
we're a trace or whether we're during a race, need anything? You good?
Yeah.
I don't know that I can help you, right? But I might have something like a spare tube or something I can toss you. I mean, like if you're not at the front winning the race, what's 30 seconds going to kill you? You might make somebody else's day.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them may have yelled it, but I couldn't hear because they were going 35 miles an hour at the time. You need anything? Yeah, I do. And they're gone.
Bye. See you later. they go off in the distance. Yeah.
I asked him if he needed any help. I couldn't hear what he said, though.
I was there for you, but you never responded. Yeah. Like I couldn't hear because you were going 40, and then you turn back around. And you're like, please don't say anything. Please don't say anything. Please don't say anything.
What?
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you need someone asks you, there's like, yeah, it's kind of a busy weekend coming up. I got a couple of things. I'm like, well, let me help. Let me know if you need anything, period. You're like, please, dear God, why did I say that? I hope he never responds. and then they respond on like a Saturday, and you're like, didn't see it. A couple hours later, dude, so sorry, man. Just saw your text. My bad. I've been busy doing stuff. You get yeah, I went and found somebody else. You're like, thank God. It's sweet. This is why I'll never understand people who have read receipts on their phone. Biggest mistake you can ever make. Protect yourself, people. Protect yourself. Take off the red receipt. Iram, your top advice on how to improve running speed. That's a great question. I think we've covered a ton. And there's a lot of ways to do that. And for most athletes, I think it generally just comes from what are you doing? Short distance, you're in long distance, but more than that, it's about your ability to hold form for the longest period of time is what's going to get you the fastest result. And a lot of people just run so hard and so fast. So often they do it with terrible forms. They actually end up working like horrific muscles. I was actually thinking about this today while I was swimming. I was swimming next to a guy in a lane who had these super short flippers on that are doing basically nothing. He had the worst kick form ever. And you could tell he was just learning how to swim. And like one of my biggest pet peeves and stuff like that is, why are we using tools to grow or enhance musculature and tendon strength in certain areas that we're developing? That's actually, you're only doing that within wrong form. And then what's going to happen is once you try to correct your form, it's going to be even harder because your new form stuff, like the stuff you're supposed to be doing, are going to be weaker, but your stronger, bigger muscles are going to be dominating those, and it's going to cause imbalances and make it even harder to change that. So in my opinion, you run enough to where you can run form, add in strides to 3 out of every 5 runs that you do, 15 to 30 seconds, a great thing. Even on your long runs, like I did this on Wednesday, on my long runs, it was all easy, but I wanted to make sure I was keeping good run form. So I'd go super easy up the hills, and then I would have perfect run form, like long strides going down, just to keep things open. So I did the same thing, some very similar thing there in the pool. When I was doing easy, longer endurance stuff, every fourth 25 to M100, I would pick up the pace to like zone 3, just to make sure I was keeping good form and not getting sloppy with stuff. And I think in running, people tend to get really, really sloppy. Having good economy is one, but for the most part, it's increasing volume, which is honestly the best way to get faster. Honestly, is increasing easy. It allows you to run more, so it improves your economy. Then if you need to do some drills to help you, with your run form, that to me, that's the biggest thing. And then just if you're going to do speed stuff, keep it short, 30-second, 45-second, minute, 2-minute max. That just ensures you're keeping really, really good form. Or my favorite thing in the world to do, I think if you're going to pick 2 intense workouts to do for any athlete, it's tempo and hills, period. Honestly, I think 90% of most long course endurance athletes, even Olympics, really up to full distance, you'd probably be just fine doing hill repeats and tempo work. Because tempo work, you can have that great form and you're uncomfortably comfortable. You can hold it for a long period of time, which is just like race day. Hill work is so fantastic because you have to have great run form as long as you're not doing like a 10% grade. That doesn't get you any bonus points. It's actually worse for you. Something between 3 to 6%. Long, strong strides or quick feet, however you want to do it, pumping your arms, engaging, the back, your posterior chain. To me, that's all stuff that translates really well into speed. But the beauty of hills, though, is that you just don't absolutely destroy and smash your bones, because you're not generating enough force going down on them because you're going up the hill.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I always love thinking about this because I don't. Sometimes I wonder what people mean by that, the top end or just being faster in a race, which is obviously 2 big different things. Sometimes does it mean like if you have a higher top end, you can go faster? Well, maybe. But to me, it all comes back to how, and what you're saying makes total sense with this, is the best way for me to get faster is to make it feel easier. And I think that form is a big piece of that. And hills and doing stuff like that really works into it, but also mobility stuff and just feeling good, making your legs have a good range of motion about them, because I think the tighter you get and the short, like the more I guess stressed with your legs and you're not relaxed and stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff that but you have to be strong enough and flexible enough and mobile enough to be able to hold that kind of thing. And, we've talked about it before, but it's sometimes when I'm running, I just find something, and it's just like, wow, this is feeling easy and I'm going faster. So, I just think it takes work, and I think it takes thinking about your form and working on it and doing things that will keep you a lot more balanced when you're running, rather than, because with me, it's like my right leg, it seems to kind of start overpowering after a while. And how do I keep those things equal? It just flows better, And I don't know. Sometimes you're just going faster when we can let go. So it's not always about trying so hard.
Yeah, most people just don't like to hear the answer about what actually will get you faster. But one of the best pieces of advice I've ever heard with running is, if you can't run for 200 meters with perfect form and fast, but makes you think you can do it for 2 miles.
Yeah.
People just don't think that 200 is enough. I'm like, well, it's plenty if you start there, and then you can work your way up to do more. So that's where I would start.
And how often do you see good run form on an Ironman marathon?
Not even from the pros.
It's hard.
Like very, very few of them. It's like you're so tired, you're so broken down, none of it, which is why I'll never understand why like these Ironman athletes, especially age groupers, are hitting the track. Like, you're never going to run that way in a race. Never, ever. maybe the last 200 meters, where you finally, after you've walked for 6 miles, and now you want to run down the finish chute. Maybe then, but most of the time, no. I mean, it's just you're not going to have it. Jennifer Cameron, if swimming for triathlon only, is it necessary to do flip turns? Never. I never. Like, if you don't know how to do a flip turn, stop trying to learn. Use that extra time to then learn how to swim better. There's 0 point. In fact, I think a lot of times it's like detrimental for a lot of athletes to do flip turns because you swim less. You glide into the wall, you flip, you push off. You're probably not swimming 2 to 3 to 4 yards that other people are by just doing an open turn. You're losing time. For 100 yards, you're probably swimming 85, maybe. Doesn't sound like a lot, but you add that up over 10, that's 150 you haven't swam. I don't see the point. I definitely don't see the point in practicing doing a flip turn when it has absolutely nothing to do with what you're going to do in the pool. And in fact, it's actually, I think it's more beneficial because you don't have that. Because to me, one of the best workouts to do is band, paddles, and pool buoy is strength work. If you're coming off the wall with less velocity, then you actually have to start pulling, right, with a lot more force versus coming off the wall. So it's kind of like starting from a stop, right? It's a lot harder than that. Like, remember back in high school when I was playing football, my freshman and sophomore year, we had a strength coach. You could basically start your bench press max from up top, and then you could bring it down, and most guys would bounce it off their chest, and they got this momentum. Then we got a new strength coach, and he redid the entire bench system, and you had to start your bench press from a total dead stop at the bottom on the rack. Mm-hmm. So much harder to do, so much harder to get that kind of force and strength. Same way with pushing with not doing a flip turn, right? You don't have that extra speed to keep moving with you, right? And so I think it's a total waste of time, and there's absolutely no benefit in wasting time to do it. Just spend more time doing 50s and 25s and 100s trying to get it better.
Mm. Yeah, I gave up on flip turns a long time ago. I get so dizzy and disoriented. I just couldn't pull that together. So now when I just push, I don't push off, but I'll kind of if you do a flip turn, you kind of push off under and you get some momentum and whatever. But I'll just kind of shove myself a little bit higher, so I don't have to work through. Because I'm always thinking about being on top of the water. So I agree with you though, because you got to kind of start from a stop.
It's better for you. You ain't cheating. Next question from Angela. I am planning to train and race a full Ironman with my husband this year. Any tips for managing a 2 triathlete household, and any thoughts on how we can execute our best race together? We want to try and stick together as much as possible during the race, but especially in the run. It's my second Ironman and his first. Good luck with that. I mean, I got nothing for you on how to pace it together. I mean, a 2 triathlete household. I mean, if you're planning on racing together and staying together, then do all your training together. I mean, if you can. I mean, the truth is, one of you is going to get the most out of it. One of you is not going to get that much out of it because you're training slower and you're probably not doing your best. And one of you is going to train a lot faster, maybe even than you should be, which isn't going to be your best. But it sounds like a good experience, fun experience. I mean, you got plans, so that's awesome. Training wise, I really can't answer that question because if you don't have any kids and your job's flexible, then I got nothing for you. Have fun and do what you can, enjoy it. If you got kids, totally different story. You're going to have to really manage that in a different way. Like one of you, because I've trained quite a few couples in the past. I think I coach currently 7 couples, and I've had 2 that have done the Ironman training at the same time, and they would have to alternate either to do one of 2 things. Monday through Friday, it's really not a huge deal, but the weekend is the thing, right? Because that's when you get a lot of stuff done. But if you're both smoked and gone all day, you're going to have to probably hire somebody to cut your grass. You're probably going to have somebody to take care of your house. Is to do one of you gets to ride long on Saturday. One of you does your long run on Saturday. That way, if you have kids, that way somebody can be home, right? The person who does the long run gets up early, does a long run, comes home, has the whole day. The next person goes out for the ride, and then vice versa. They swap the next day. If you don't have any kids, do whatever the hell you want to. Enjoy. There's really not much to go around that. Do all your training together, do the same volume. That way you'll know what kind of speed each other is. The hardest thing obviously will be the swim, is knowing who comes out first and knowing, how long you have to catch up, or if you have to be the one to catch up, and then stand together on the bike. It's probably a lot more mentally taxing than you think. Like, I think the run will be the easiest part, but finding each other and staying with each other on the swim and the bike is going to be the hardest part. But volume wise, you should probably do, most of the same stuff, unless one of you has like a bigger weakness in the swim and the bike, and you have to catch up or do more work to kind of even maintain the speed. Because, in races that long, it's really mentally demanding to have to go a lot slower than you want to go, that you're trained to go. And so that would be, I guess, one of the things I would suggest is to kind of do what you can to be at the same baseline fitness when you start the race.
Yeah, you're gonna need spotters
and get a prenup.
Get a prenup. Yeah, you need spotters out there telling you how far ahead or behind you are. I don't know.
That's not your plan this year with Wisconsin for you and Emily to do the same time, same speed, and finish at the same time?
No, I mean, we both do this to get, the most out of ourselves. So it's never really like that.
And I mean, again, if you do, we don't know if you have kids or not. So that brings in a whole different layer. I will say, of all the couples that I've worked with that in the Ironman the same year, they'll never do it again.
Yeah,
it's too much. It's too much. They always alternate. Their turn to do a full this year, and my turn to do 7.3s, and they switch. Next question, Kevin Drury. Any heat training tips for Ironman Texas if you live in a cold environment and don't have access to a treadmill? Can do indoor bike and swim training, obviously, but no indoor running, or actually is even important to do if you've been training consistently for months. Well, for one, it's definitely needed. If you have bike indoor sessions, you can take care of that pretty easily just by wearing extra clothes or turning your fan on low or moving it farther away or turning it off completely. Swimming, I would recommend wearing like 2 swim caps. It'll make you a heck of a lot hotter than you probably think it will, but I think it's actually really, really important for heat acclimation to kind of get your head and your ears covered. The run, that's actually not that hard. Just wear more clothes. Where I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, how can I, heat train for Texas? And it's like, wear 2 sets of tights.
Whoa.
Long sleeve shirt, sweatshirt, hoodie. When it's 60 degrees outside. And it's pretty easy for the run, in my opinion, to outside do that. And if you're outside on the bike, same thing, just wear extra clothes to make yourself sweat more and to raise your core temp.
I got nothing else than that, man. Just layer up, I guess.
Layer up.
Saunas. Man, that's...
Yeah, saunas. Yeah, same thing. That's the other one. It's to do sauna, or if you don't have access to it, the hot bath, hot immersion is just as good. So like when you get done with the workout, go get in a hot bath and get it and stay in as long as you can. Keep your core temp high, and that's really, really great for heat training. Not good for the water bill, but good for heat training. David Johnson, benefits of caffeine gels and how often to consume caffeine gels during an endurance activity. That is total preference. Some people have like extreme sensitivity to caffeine. Some people barely drink coffee, so when they pop some caffeine, it like hits them hard. Some people drink coffee regularly, and so when they have it, they don't. Some people will wean off caffeine the 3 to 4 days before a big race, so they actually get the big benefit, like the drug-induced boost, because caffeine is a drug, that they get from caffeine as a stimulant. I personally don't like any caffeine until the run. I don't. But once I start, I don't stop. So if I start at mile 1 on the run, I don't stop. And so I'll have caffeine like every other mile, because it's that you come down from the caffeine and you have like a caffeine sugar crash. You don't want that. You want the benefits of it. So I wait to have it. I don't like any of the gels really that have caffeine in them. I feel like it's too concentrated and it just hits me weird. Especially like the Cliff shot blocks that have caffeine in them. I find those to be like almost heart attack inducing. My body just responds. You know how much coffee I used to drink, not anymore, but yeah, I used to drink 4 or 5 cups a day, and I'd have like 2 shot blocks, and feel like my heart's about to pop out of my chest. So some are just, and there are some gels, like I used to be able to take the Goo Roctane with caffeine. That would hit me almost perfectly. The Martin gels with caffeine, those to me, I just can't get down. they got caffeine pills, which I think is something people should experiment with because you don't have to worry so much about the, how you actually consume it. But for me, the best, my best races ever, if I look back on it, have all been fueled by flat Coke. My best open marathon to date was I carried 2 flasks of flat Coke with me that I drank out of with some goose, because it was the caffeine, the sugar was exactly what I needed. But I would definitely take it and experiment with it because not all caffeine, even if they have the milligrams listed as equal, 100 to 100, 200, 200, they are not all created equal. And so I would definitely experiment with that. And the soonest I would honestly take it in is like mile 70 or 80 on the bike. Maybe on the full. On a half, hit it on the run. But it really just depends on your sensitivity to it, and then the type of caffeine and what you're using to take it with.
Yeah, everything you said is so true because I've been there. I've had a terrible night of sleep. I'm specifically thinking back to Chattanooga, one full I did there, and man, I started hitting the Morton caffeine stuff early in the bike. And I was literally falling asleep by the end of it, like an arrow. And I was just thinking, wow, how am I again? I was so tired. It was just that up and down thing that just never seemed to end. So I think, yeah, generally just as long as you can hold off, the better.
Just hang tight. But to me, it is a huge benefit, but it's like, the thing is to me, it's very similar to like the feeling you get from, wanting to walk during the race. You're like, it's going to feel so good, but do you really want to start it now?
Mm-hmm.
Because once you start it, you can't stop. Like, you're not just going to walk once, right? You're not going to like mile 14 in the run and Ironman. You're like, I'm just going to walk for this 30 seconds and that's it. No, because you're going to start walking and it's going to feel so damn good. You're like, oh, dude, I'm running the rest of the way home. Same with caffeine. Like, once you hit it, it's a drug. Like, it's going to hit you. It's a stimulant. It's going to hit you hard. You're like, oh, this is fantastic. But it's going to jack your heart rate up, and it might change other things. And really, depending on how you have a sensitive stomach too. Like, I would just make sure that you know exactly what it does. Like, for me, I just know that flat Coke is my jam, and so I have never found another supplement or made from any company at all that I'm like, yeah, that hits me just about right to where it's not too much caffeine at once, or it's not enough, so I have to take more. So I think that's something you really have to experiment with and make sure you get right and try it in training.
Yeah.
Next question, Kristen. Hi, Nick. Since I know you love talking about swimming, I'm working on improving my pace for my first full in August. Is it okay to swim 4 to 5 days a week now on top of biking and running and strength? If so, is there a time when you would taper that down to less? That's an excellent question. You're never going to hear me say you should swim less. I do think what you're doing right now is fantastic, especially 4 to 5 days a week, not super long, keeping them fairly short if you have the time, right? And you're not losing the opportunity for gains in cycling and running. Because to me, that's the thing you have to think about. Like, you're still, again, if you have 1,000 stress points a week to give away and you have 16 hours of time, well, your 4 to 5 pool sessions, unless it's like right down the road, takes up a lot. It's a 2-to-1 ratio, right? 2 hours of your time gets 1 hour of swimming, versus heading out there for a run. It's a 1-to-1, right? You get all of it back. And then again, like, you got to remember, it's also triathlon is a sport it's all three. So you don't want to lose fitness in the other one just to gain 3 to 4 minutes, maybe, in that. So I think that's a huge deal. But what I would do is I would probably stick with 4 to 5 until you feel like you've made some improvement, and then shave those 4 to 5 down to 3 and just make those 3 swims extra long. Like, really maximize your time there.
I like that plan. Yeah.
I feel like you've done something similar in the past.
Oh yeah. And we talked about it last time. I think I don't know. Again, yeah, it's about trade-off on energy too, if swimming is knocking you out all the time, you got to be careful about that. But, just figuring out ways to, for me, it's just about, we talk about this a lot, but feeling comfortable in the water. That's why I like to swim a lot, because the more you get in there, the easier it is to jump in the lane. The easier it is to deal with the water temperature and the whole 9 yards. And then if you're really getting something out of it, like getting a really good understanding how a good catch feels, then, just keep, I think that's like one of those things with the late onset swimmers is we have a harder time figuring that out. I mean, you could probably swim, one time, maybe two, and then you're like, okay, I'm starting to feel this. What I know is what I need to feel. So that's why I like swimming frequently and shorter sometimes, is just that it kind of, crystallizes that feeling in my head. And it's so important. I mean, it's so fleeting too, especially if you didn't grow up swimming. So to me, those are the reasons why you swim a lot.
And keep, I mean, to me, and that's why I think this brings up a slightly different topic. That's why I also think that like so many athletes have terrible swims. If you're not a great swimmer, so many people swim, like they cut their swimming down way too much during the taper. Mm-hmm. Like if you're not a natural swimmer, if you haven't been swimming your whole life, you lose feel very quickly for the water. And to me, swim speed, swim strength, and being able to do it for a long period, it's all about feel for the water. If you don't have feel for the water, you're not going to go fast. I mean, you hear from Olympians all the way up to beginners. I just didn't have feel for the water today. And they'll never, that's never their best day. Yeah, I had a great day today, PR, just didn't have any feel for the water. No one's ever said that. Yeah. I had a great feel for the water today, PR'd. That's exactly how those conversations happen. So people just like really cut down. You're a lot better off getting feel and getting something. Because again, that's why it's so great to do frequent, get a good feel for the water, get that technique down. Know, and then number one, know what it's like what good feel for the water feels like. And then maybe knock it down from 4 to 5 to 3 to 4. Right. And then start to implement like maybe open water on the weekends if you got access to that. And then make the most out of your time at the pool, right? When you actually go, which is, again, it's the biggest, I think it's the biggest challenge for most athletes is to how to divvy up the time and the return on investment from the pool and the amount of effort you need to go to put into it. Then again, I think there's also a huge benefit. I know from personal experience and from coaching athletes, there is a direct benefit from swim training to running. Huge aerobic benefit. And so that's and it doesn't go vice versa. It doesn't go run training to swim, right? To swim training or swim fitness. So that's another way to look at it too, is like if you'll still be able to improve your run fitness with swimming. Right. It's do it that way or a great double on a weekend. I did this with a ton of athletes last year and it seemed to work really well is long run, then straight to the pool or open water so it's like, we don't run long anyway, but it was kind of made that because again, running to me is total body. It's upper body, it's core, it's lower back, right? It's your arms, which people, because when their core deteriorates and your form deteriorates, your run speed goes to shit. Right. Same, but with swimming, it's total body, arms, legs, core. So it's a great double, right? You're getting some swim fitness. It's promoting recovery, but also in a lot of ways, it's actually continuing on that double up with your long run. But no, I mean, I'll never say that anyone should swim less because most people don't swim enough. But just be mindful of how your other two are doing, right? That's why, and you know this too. Like, and you and I talk about it frequently. Why coaching is so challenging and it's like, I always call it a whack-a-mole board. One problem comes up and you got to whack it. And then another one comes up and you got to whack it. Or it's like a puzzle, right? You put a little bit here, put a little bit there, because it's 3 sports and then it's fueling, right? It's technology and it's pacing and it's equipment. It's everything. You can't just prioritize one thing and totally forget the rest because and I see this all the time. I'm even feeling it. I feel like currently, even though I've talked about it before, is I'm always a better runner and cyclist when I'm swimming a ton. So even if I don't think I'm going to get a lot better at swimming, right? I know that I'm going to at least be more efficient and come out of the water feeling better. And I'm going to get some fitness transfer over to my cycling and running as the benefit. You just can't forget about it. Again, I think people fall into usually 2 different traps. They only want to work on their strength because they love it. Therefore, it's always going to be their strength. Right. And they forget about the other 2, which means they have to work extra hard, right? Because your ability to make your strength even stronger to make up for your weaknesses, it's like, it's the difference between someone wanting to improve from a 14-minute mile down to a 12. That's super attainable in a huge range, like 2 minutes, versus, a person who currently runs a 5:04 mile trying to get under 4, or excuse me, trying to get under 5-minute miles. That might take him a year, right? To shave off 4.5 seconds. And so that's the difference between, like, making sure you're only focusing on your strengths at the demise of your weakness. Again, it's about total body of work and a total energy. The same thing goes if people go all in on their weakness and it barely improves, you're losing time and losing fitness in the other two. So it's a very delicate balancing act, puzzle, whatever you want to call it. Just be mindful of that in that one, forest to the trees view of getting better. They all do benefit each other. Just be very intentional when you go for those 4 to 5.
You bring up some good points, and I just want to say a couple things. When you think about, like, if you're going to bed on a Friday and the next morning you're going to do a group swim or a group bike or a group run, I think most people are probably, a little bit more anxious about the swim, and then maybe a little bit less anxious about the bike. And like running is something I think we're just used to being on, ground and running. I mean, it's something we did our whole lives. I just think there's a little bit different level of anxiety in the three, at least for me. And that's what I like about swimming frequently. And that's what I like about biking a little more frequently, because you just feel more comfortable, once you get in the water or once you get on the bike. And I think I know a lot of people that are really stressed about the bike, so doing it more and sort of getting this, whatever you call it, the feel for water. I call it, feel for the pavement or the handling or whatever you want to call it. Those are things that I think just fly under the radar sometimes, is our comfort level in certain sports. And the more you do them, the more comfortable you're going to be and the better you're going to probably end up for it.
Yeah, I mean, then to me, it's also understanding, like, to me, every athlete's different, right? And you need both fitness and confidence in different areas. And to me, you just have to know that about yourself. Some people, and like in my opinion, you need and can get away with less bike training and still be perfectly fine, right? Some people can get away with a little less swim training and be totally fine. Some people need an enormous amount of swim training to be totally fine, right? They need extra running, but they need extra cycling to be fine. To me, like, I know that I need a lot of swimming and a lot of cycling, and I can pretty much handle a marathon on probably an hour and a half, hour and 45-minute run. If a couple of longer runs like that, nothing longer than that, and that's it. I can handle it. I just can. I don't know why, but I can know why, because I've been doing it for so long. I know I can do it once, right? So I know that about me. So again, like we see so many people comparing and copying and doing all these things, and you spent 3 years, everyone's idolizing the Norwegian method. Now there's one guy left standing, and Christian Blumenfeld, because Gustav's, injured. And you're like, wait a minute, was there like this method, or is this one guy who can absorb all this training? It's just a freak of nature. We spend so much time listening to YouTube videos and different podcasts and different training things. It's like the best thing you can do is like find every little thing that you can figure out about you to maximize your good. In my opinion, every athlete has a superpower. And one of the three, right? Or nutrition, or pacing, or their mentality, right? We talked about that the other day, right? Is how crucial that mental, and you and I know us from coaches. They're just athletes you just don't ever worry about. You're like, you know what? Because we talk a lot before, like big racing weekends. We're like, yeah, they didn't train, but they're a gamer. They'll be fine. Mm-hmm. And you just know that as a coach, because you know how they're wired and they get shit done. But then you've got other athletes who you're like, ugh, you're just nervous how the day is going to fold, even if their training was perfect, right? And you got athletes who may have, shortened the kid. I got this. I can do it. But every athlete has, whether it's nailing nutrition, whether it's perfect pacing, whether it's being smarter than your other athletes. I mean, I had a conversation with a coach years and years ago, and he said, Ironman racing, if It's not about racing anyone else, because 70% of the racers will outrace themselves. Meaning, if you can just race yourself well and pace well, if you're in it for the competition or how you fare against the field, most athletes will outrace themselves, like in a way that's like falling behind. Like they'll ruin their day because they can't pace, right? So you can, and to me, that's honestly like part of what I'm trying to figure out with Texas. Like, all right, so I can't make up for the last 6 months of really lazy ass non-committed training. Can't do it. Can't go back. Can't make up, which is, athlete's favorite. Yeah, I just feel like I'm behind. I need to make it up. Can't do it. So what can I do to maximize? Right, I can make sure my nutrition is perfect. Make sure my equipment choice and bike fit are perfect. Right, I can do heat acclimation to make sure I'm fully prepared. Done. And I can make sure I'm fueling well and probably getting a little bit leaner so I can handle the heat and be fast on the run. Done. None of that's fitness related. None of it. None of it shows up in Training Peaks. None of it shows up in PRs or Strava medals. It's just about being prepared, right? And I can prepare mentally to dig deep and have a good day. All that's free from like a physical, stress standpoint. But I have to focus on those to make those my superpower, because I know to elevate my fitness, because I know that my fitness will be there. So I think everyone has that, right? Same thing for the swim. I know that I've got to hit it hard in the swim because I need to work on delaying the onset of the reality of the day, which is going to be not as trained as you should have been because you didn't do enough. So what can I do to delay that for as long as possible? And if I can get it to the run, I think I'm in a good spot, because I can usually handle myself and I can usually handle the pain on the run. So I just think it's super important for everyone to identify those superpower traits about themselves and the things that they can control and do great at, right? While not ignoring the other ones. Instead of, you're still addressing your weaknesses, right? The things you don't find are your strength. But at the same time, you're just really focused on elevating anything else that will help, diminish the impact that your weakness may have. Does that make any sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
I just truly believe everybody has that.
No, I agree with that, man. Yeah.
I mean, you've got it. I mean, you've got it with the bike, and you've got it, I think, from the chin up, that you got that part, If I'm out spectating, it's like, hey, are you? I'm like, no, I'm not worried at all. He'll be fine.
Yeah. But I'm like you in that swim with the bike, though. I know I want to make that Cadillac engine that, only has to go 65 miles an hour.
You want to do what again?
I want to build an engine that's like huge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That has a lot more top end, because I can usually squeeze as much as possible out on the bike, but then it just unravels. Yeah. So I want to get to that same deal. I want to get to the far into the race as possible without having to dig into that mental game.
Right. It's the perfect analogy, right? Or the perfect example, because sometimes you lean on your strength too much, which is, you've got the mental capacity and the resiliency and the toughness to get it done regardless of training. Right? How much you've not done.
Right.
Versus which is also a strength but also a weakness.
Yeah, well, I've had that same type of thing in the run before, but that superpower is dwindling. I don't have the same why deep inside of me. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's not worth it.
To dig deep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, how many times I got to prove that I can run a 10-minute pace? You know what I mean? Like, that is a tricky one.
Listen, dude, that's an absolutely brilliant point, because, I think people, we even did a whole podcast on it about you like a year or two ago, is I thought you're actually a better natural runner than you were a cyclist.
Yeah.
When you actually put the run volume in, is athletes get trapped in that. Yeah, I'm just really good. I'm just a lifelong submarine. I'll be fine. And you go and you're like, shit, like I learned that lesson the hard way 2 years ago to Ohio. I swam nothing leading into it. I think I was probably in this pool like 5 times for 20 minutes. Good bike fitness, good run fitness. Got out of the swim, and I was like, I'm fucked. I was gassed. I swam because I knew I was going to swim the same speed in the effort no matter what. Which was a huge mistake, right? Because I was like, I got this, man. I'm a swimmer. And I got to the pool. I'm like, man, 31, I was still, pretty high up there in the overall, like top 50, I think, of all age groupers in the swim. But it gassed me.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew it the first 10 miles of the run, or excuse me, of the bike. I knew I could feel it. I could feel it in my quads and my hips. I was like, you did it. You did it to yourself in training. And all you had to do was swim a little bit extra each week and you'd have been just fine. And the sad part is I think I was only like, 6 minutes off my PR that day. And I think it all came down to the swim. It's always great to reassess, right, where we are. And if the truths we're telling ourselves are really, in fact, the truths like as they are now, kind of like we joke about with athletes when they fill out their intake questionnaire, what are your strengths? And they're like, strengths are, I ran high school in track, so I'm a runner. And then the next question is, what's your most recent 5K time? And, how was your last week in training? And it's like, I've been kind of inconsistent the last 3 or 4 years. And my best 5K was, back in 1989. And you're like, all right, maybe we need to reassess things and figure out what it is. So it is. I just think it's really a great thing for everyone to do. But again, it's a good reminder that I think we all have that superpower.
Yeah, that's a huge point.
I mean, we can end it there. Do we have time for another one?
No, I think we're good, man.
Yeah, I think we're good.
We got plenty more next time.
Yeah, we can always hit these up. Got a couple more good questions. Yeah, we'll hit up next Tuesday for these. Hope you enjoyed. I hope you got a little bit out of it. Not a little bit, a lot out of it. If you're racing this weekend, get after it. Have a good time. Pace it properly. And before you toe the line, recognize your own superpower. As always, we love you guys. We appreciate you. Go to our website, c26triathlon.com. There's a one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. If you need anything from Mike, he's available at mike@c26triathlon.com. If you need anything from me, I'm at Robbie at c26triathlon.com.
All right, buddy. I will catch you Tuesday.
See you, dude.
See you.